Are you guys ready? Are you guys excited? Because I'm excited. I think I'm excited. I think you're excited. Are you ready to be excited? I'm just kidding. Let's go. Hi, everybody. Oh, my goodness gracious. Welcome in, everybody. We're doing our first critique of the year. Yippee! We have a lot of really cool submissions this time around, so I hope you guys are excited. And there are actually quite a few people that sent multiple entries, but I had to choose the ones that I yeah, excuse you. I had to choose the ones that I felt like I would give the most critique to. But hello, how are you? I hope you guys are having a fabulous Sunday, a wonderful day. And yeah, it's gonna be really fun. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Hell yeah. I have missed the art critiques because of the holidays. It's been nuts. It's been buck nutty. So I'm excited that we finally get to come back around and we have 13 entries this time. So I'm gonna do my best to get to all of them. Because it's been a minute. But how have you guys been? How's your week been? Are you excited for, I don't know, our first critique of the year? I uh I was gonna do some work beforehand, but I knew that my wrist usually gets really tired doing these. I do a lot of drawing very quickly, um, and I do a lot of yapping. So you know what? I decided to like just let myself have a little bit of a break. I slept in a little later. I didn't watch TikToks because I didn't have access to TikTok. Rest in peace. and but I did cope on Instagram, I suppose, though I feel like I'm gonna be deleting the Meta apps to help tank stocks, just one small brick in the wall. I wanted you to do an art critique, not of my art, but of a famous, infamous piece of art. What art piece, if you don't mind sharing? It's back after not even 24 hours. Is it back for real, or is it just the same plan that they had said where it's like, "Oh, it just won't be update compatible, like, you can't" because I think the shutdown part was them, like, reconfiguring their servers to prepare for the changes that needed to happen, and then, it returning is just in the final state where the app won't be downloadable in the shop, and it won't be updatable in the future. It'll just slowly die. Um, and I had D&D last night, and my DM mentioned that, using the app in a state where it isn't updatable leaves it, vulnerable to security risks, and I'm like, "Oh, damn. I didn't even think about that part for real. I didn't even think about that." But hey, I don't know. I have no idea. Will we be able to pull over the rule marky sucky suck? I don't know. Are you talking about Mark Zuckerberg? I don't know. I don't know. I don't use Facebook really. I feel like a lot of people my age really just use it because they have family members that only communicate through it, like my mom. My mom's the only person I know that I have any sort of semblance of communication through, and it's because she uses it to get things from her computer or from her phone onto her computer because she doesn't like to view images on the you know what I mean? Like, she wants to see stuff bigger on the computer, so she, like, doesn't like looking at her phone. She's like, "Can you just send it in Facebook Messenger so I can see it on my computer?" I was like, I guess Captain America by Rob Liefeld. I think hold on. Oh, yeah, I think I know the one. Yeah. Yeah, big ribbed, big boobied Captain America, yeah. I am familiar with the piece. Damn. That is very funny. Oh my gosh. Yeah, honestly, in the future, if you guys are interested in more art critique, but not necessarily of like community pieces, but of like art in general, I can gladly do like a deep dive. Hi Akamo, yeah, we're doing so monthly. I do an art critique of art from the community, so folks will submit their art. Um and it's a really nice time for people to get feedback in a safe space. And if you haven't been to one of these before, I do happen to have them on my VODs channel, some of our old ones. They should be in their own channel. So if you just go to the VODs channel, you'll have a whole little folder, a whole playlist that's just of our prior critiques. They are unedited. So it would be as if you're watching a stream, like, but at least you can scroll through it. You know what I mean? But yeah, people from the community submit their pieces for review. And then I draw over and talk about from my own experiences. And if I don't have experiences, I sometimes like to find references and get some info. But basically, being online and doing, sharing your art with people can be really scary. And a lot of people feel anxious about um their progress as an artist. And everybody's on their own journey. Everyone has their own experiences, whether you're 5 or you're 55, you know, your art is your own, and sometimes you just have to give yourself the grace of, like, letting yourself learn things and try things. It's not always gonna be perfect, and the thing is that there's um a lot of people that have been given bad advice or unsolicited advice. And so this is purely a space for you to submit things willingly and voluntarily in a way which you know that you'll be getting advice from somebody who isn't judging your work and simply just wants to answer questions or give examples, talk about techniques. And the thing is, I say this every time we have a critique stream. If you leave feeling worse than you came, then it's my fault. That was my problem, not yours. Um, and a lot of people online have been given unsolicited advice from people that tore down or tore apart or said, "Oh, you shouldn't use these brushes. You shouldn't use this program." You know what I mean? Whoa,
You got
Beljeet!
mail.
Hi there, Beljeet. Welcome, Raiders. My goodness. Beljeet, hello. What a treat. We don't usually cross paths with one another. How are you today? Welcome, Raiders. I'm Mandy Quinn, Mall Mannequin. I'm an illustrator, animator, and a professional goober. And today we're talking about the art critiques that we do about every month. How are you? What were you doing today? Welcome, Raiders. If you don't already know me, like I said, I'm Mandy Quinn Mall Mannequin, illustrator, animator, professional goober. And you can check out my socials there. Hi, Whiskey. Are you ready? I know you know butterfly. Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. But welcome in. How are ya? Just finished up nap time study hall. Baby bird just woke up from a nap time though. Oh, the baby has dictated your end stream. Well, I'm so happy to see you. Oh, Celador, goddammit. I'm doing well. Oh my god. You had a beautiful, peaceful study hall, and then you bring your flock here, and they just get jump scared and knocked on and sharded on. But welcome, Raiders. Thank you so much for the raid, Beljeet. If you need to go take care of yourself and your baby, please feel free to go take care of yourself. If I had paid attention, I would have saved it for after your rage spiel. Oh no, you're fine. Welcome in. Oh my goodness. I see that I was just turned into a worm. Let's hopefully it works. Oh, worm should work. Let me go to my points thing. It says it should work. I might restart. Let me restart BikuBot just to make sure that it's gonna do what we want it to. But welcome, Raiders. What is the up? It's good. How are you? Let me go to a worm. Where are you? There it is. Doink. There we go. Thanks for making me a worm. Welcome in. We are going to be doing an art critique today. We do them monthly, but it's been a little while since we have done them because of the holidays. Have a good one, Belgique. Thank you so much for the raid and welcome, Raiders. Would you still love us? We were worms? Of course. Of course I would. It's would you guys still care affectionately for moi if I was a worm? Because look, I'm a worm. Ah, pointing right at my nose. I see. Yeah, it is quite floppy. The viciousness of my thrashing is part of my charm. But yeah, for those of you that are just now joining us, we're doing an art critique today. We've done them before. You can find them on my VOD channel. There should be a link pretty much anywhere. But it's in my card. It's everywhere. It's in the air. But yeah, so basically our community submits these voluntarily and I give advice and
Remember to drink
examples.
some water,
Thank
Mandy.
you. I'm gonna need it, because these are yapping streams. We would care you if you were a worm, but would you care you if you were a worm? Yes. Thank you so much. I took a sippy. I love being a worm, y'all. Sometimes I just want to be in the dirt, and by the dirt, I mean under my covers, sleeping, silent. Oh my gosh. Is this music loud or what? Probably not. I'll just turn it. It's probably really soft for you guys. Hell yeah, thank you so much. We have 13 entries. So anybody that enters today, you will be participating in the next one next month. So that would be middle of February. It'll always happen on a Sunday at around 3 p.m. So we have plenty of time. These tend to go for about 5 or 6 hours. So I yap a lot. I do be yapping. We do be yapping. I've discovered that Furby I would cover the which Furby would you covet the most? You should share it in the Furby channel in the Discord. But yeah, and at any time, y'all, if you want to talk to folks about art pieces, you can always share in our art share area in the Discord. And at any time, if you are asking for critique, just like say so. Just say, hey, I would actually love critique. There's also the art forum. So if you actually have something that's a little bit more of a conversation, you can put images and text there and say, hey, I would really like to discuss something about this in like an open space or technique or what brushes people like to use. And just remember though, if you critique with each other, just know that, critique should usually be coming willingly. Somebody's asking for the critique. And that's why people submit for the critique here. Have you ever seen the movie Clash of the Titans? Named Bubo. I'm looking Clash of the Titans Bubo. Oh, the little a little looks familiar, but I've never seen Clash of Titans. I've only culturally digested by via osmosis. Imosis. You know what I mean? Little mechanical owl. That's cute. Yeah, I haven't seen Clash of the Titans. The first thing that came to mind was gosh, the football movie. That's not right. You'd want a Boobo Furby. They do look like owls a little bit, don't they? They're like little owl creatures. That actually that's a pretty close connection. You should draw it. You should draw it. That'd be really cool. But welcome, y'all. Again, if you're new around here or you've never been to one of the art critiques, uh, if you've submitted something and you never have before, my goal is to make you feel really positive about the art piece. And again, if you leave here feeling worse than you came in, that's my fault, not your fault. And a lot of people tend to get unsolicited critique that is just not phrased well. A lot of stuff people have a lot of valid points, but they just don't present it in a way that feels constructive, and that's the difference between shitting on something and critiquing something. You know what I mean? Um, but in art school, we had to be able to explain our work and to explain and critique other people's work. It's a skill, right? It takes time to learn, and these are really good practice for me, as well as they should be good practice for all y'all. So and again, if I'm looking at any of your pieces, feel free to add context, explain a little bit more about them. If there's anything that you'd like to talk about, feel free. It's a conversation. It shouldn't just be me telling you what to feel and what to think. You know what I mean? We've got a it's a good healthy little space we should be crafting. And so far these have been really really fun. Y'all have been making really awesome art and it's super exciting. So I'm going to start off pretty soon so that we can just kind of get into it, but I hope you guys have been having a good I don't know why sometimes words get fucked up. I hope you guys have been having a fabulous weekend, okay? Let me change my category to art. Done. And let me open up Photoshop and get our first thing up. But y'all, how you doing? What's up? I have all of them downloaded here. I always put people's names up on the screen as well, so y'all know who has made what. Let me copy this real quick. There we go. And we are going to open this with Photoshop. Lovely. All right, let me get my screen over. Whoop. There we go. All right. So let me write down this first one. So this is Mwai, aka Noah, who has submitted their character, Alois. Hello. There were two, you submitted two of them, and I really liked the vibe of this character. So I chose them. Let me get my little drawing glove on. Hell yeah. And I'm just going in order of it's like alphabetical order, how they saved in my folder. So let me just get myself mentally and physically prepared to yep. Hell yeah. All right. So I'm going to make another layer first. So this is a character design and a bit of a like sample page. We have some swatches over here. I really like your color palette. I like this reduced color palette. You've kept it like simple, but with combination of this character's outfit and the reduced palette, they have a very like poised and fashionable look to them. You've kept the red in very specific areas, and you've brought to mind high fashion, not just in what you chose, but like where you chose your color. A really cool example is at least, and again, for anybody that is international, so anybody that is European or of anything other than American, I only offer an American context. So everybody has their own interpretation and context that they bring to the table. But as a North American individual, most of the time when I see red shoes, especially high heels, I think of high fashion. I think Louis Vuitton gives a lot of that imagery, at least in like the subconscious, with like red bottom shoes. Um, and these thick waistline belts also give me that impression. But this character is wearing this really nice suit with this straight leg trouser. And they just have this really awesome fashionable appearance. I also love the inclusion of a colored lip, so like this dark blue that's like really interesting and moody, and the veil from this hat being separated to show this character's face. These are really interesting design choices and they're really cool. Like this character looks dope. So for a beginning, like just starting it off, this character looks really cool, looks really poised, and I really like that. Um, and it's giving the impression of a fashion sketch. So a lot of fashion designers will do fashion sketches like this. It's giving fashion sketch for sure. The turtleneck under the blazer is a place in time in fashion. Yeah, it's very 80s to early 90s, and I think that's really cool. And so yeah, I think as a like a garment sketch and like a character, this person's identity and vibe is super strong. And that's really in like simple choices. Yeah, the feathered hat is also really cool. So you made a lot of really intentional design choices that have already painted a picture of this character without us having to know anything about them, really, aside from a name and what they look like. Um, so, is there any specific advice that you're looking for? Uh, or would you like me to just kinda go from top down? Just kinda, you know, give any kind of advice? Because the my first thing with character design is if it's not just a fashion sketch meant to make a garment, I tend to go to, like, anatomy, and maybe anything like pose and lighting. But I think for this character, I would probably just address anatomy and silhouette and make this character's already iconic pose even more iconic. Uh, and yeah, just make small adjustments. But if there's anything specific that you're looking for, let me know, and I'm glad to give specific advice on that. Broad belt, the outer layer cinches the waist. Yeah, absolutely. Really cool silhouette to this character. Glad you feel that way about him. Admittedly, I typically struggle to design characters in general, which is what I'm mostly looking for. Hell yeah, okay. Well, so far, we're getting a really strong view of this character's identity just from how fashionable they are. And it's just a really cool bit of character added into this individual when, I mean, really, I think you're just succeeding in telling us who they are. Uh, High heel lifts the posture, tailored pant leg motion. Yeah, very graceful character, and I think a lot of the shapes too that you chose as well. These sweeping pant legs also add a lot of grace. Again, those high heels add a lot of grace, and this like hand on hip pose is also very demure, very mindful. And this character is also a little mysterious. That's partly in like the color choices, but also wearing glasses like shades over top. This character's not going to give you everything just in at first glance, and that's really fun. So we're getting a lot of really cool information about this character. Let me expand the canvas. It's very horizontal or vertical. So let me get this canvas a little wider so that we can move some stuff around. Perfect. There we go. Wonderful. So now we have this, and I'm going to move the swatches over so that I have a little bit more room to work with. There we go. Can I paste? I'll just keep without swatches then. All right. So the first thing I think we can do is adjust the anatomy and silhouette because I think the design itself, like for the clothing at least, and the iconic pieces of this character, I think are already pretty strong. Only thing in question are the glasses, veil, but I'd wear that. So yeah, yeah. So we can do a lot of stuff like to improve this, but I don't think the design itself needs to be like changed, if that makes sense. So one of the things that we have here is this awesome like diagonal. Ooh, let me get this diagonal shoulder posture. So that's really cool. It's exaggerated by the broad shoulders and or shoulder pads, very 90s, very 80s, but we're missing a little bit of the basic anatomy for the shoulder. And I think when people try to draw lapels, it can kind of distract us from what's underneath the lapels. We get very focused on the anatomy of the jacket that we almost lose the anatomy of the person. And so these lapels look very strong. We have a very strong, let me change to a different color. We have a very strong center here. This character's torso does look, appropriately wide. So you did a really good job with the direction of these lapels, and they do form a torso underneath. What we're mostly missing is torso and shoulder, this trapezius area right here that could be extended out a little bit further, especially for a male or masculine character. If their shoulders are going to be wide, we don't want to lose any of that. Um, but the base of the torso around the breast area, you did all in breast and waist, you already did a pretty solid job of. And you can see here from my center line that I just added that we can see that our jacket is intentionally meant to sweep off to the side. A lot of jackets have almost like a military style button where it doesn't button down the center. It has this pretty strict overlap here. So we want to make sure that that stays consistent so it doesn't look like our center line is off, but rather that the coat is intentionally buttoned over to the side. So we would want to make sure that that actually follows all the way through, or have our jacket continue down the center. Um, I think it's much cooler to have that asymmetrical. So this is where it would be a symmetrical coat. This is our asymmetrical coat. I think it's much cooler, especially for that 80s theme that we have. And also speaking of 80s, let me know if this music's too loud, y'all, and or if it's too soft. And then I can fix it. It's like this synth wave kind of thing. So, yeah, so now we have that really awesome asymmetry happening here, and we can follow that up with the belt as well if we wanted to. So let me just continue with like the character shape here. And you also have this really interesting sweep shape to the hem. Looks like the hem is higher on the hip here and lower on the hip here, and it looks intentional. So we just want to make sure that it's absolutely unquestionable that it is an intentional design choice and not a mistake in the perspective of the coat. Single breasted versus double breasted tailored jacket. Hell yeah. So let me. So now we have our opening here a little bit further over, and we're really exaggerating this. And in fact, we might even be able to show a little bit of where it points here, where it curves around the body and goes back around. And now it looks way more like this is intentional because we've made it a design element. We've added this bit of sharpness here. And now we have this really cool piece of the coat that looks like a intentional design choice. Very easy change, not really changing much of what you had. In fact, it's just emphasizing that really awesome feature that you already included. And I can tell that you did research into the types of jackets. There's a lot of very cool design bits that you included here. So I can see all this cool work that you put into this character. In another life, Mandi was a mannequin in a tailor shop. I didn't even think about it, but yeah, a mannequin definitely should I guess be abreast of the fashion world, I suppose. I'm not a fashion designer by any means. Just so, But yeah, so you've already got some really awesome pieces here. We are literally just emphasizing them. Um, Minor change too for anatomy. This arm, you did a really awesome job of capturing the roundness of this forearm here. But I think for our silhouette, we could do a little bit more justice to this character. Have that elbow be stuck out a little bit more dramatically, stuck out a little further. But it does look like you've gotten reference for this pose. Everything looks pretty good in terms of like the proportion. So we're just going to exaggerate it for the purpose of having a more interesting silhouette. So now we can have that sharp elbow here, you know, a little bit like this. Give ourselves a little bit more here. And our arm is sticking out a little bit further. I could even probably just select this, do a little bit of a warp because I don't want it to get too far out so that it looks uncomfortable and kind of broken. But before, after, and I'll go back here and I'll fill in some of the same base color so we get a little bit of a better look at what's going on here. And I'll take some of this background. We're adding a little bit more space between the torso and the arm. So now, before, after. Really slight change. Nothing super crazy. You already did a pretty solid job of giving us a really interesting pose. And now also our hand has a little bit more room to do its thing. We get a little bit more of the top of the hand. But really, I mean, didn't do much to just alter that, just brought it out a little bit. Also had it follow this shoulder that we brought out. And let me reintroduce the trapezius here and also adjust where my lapel is falling. I'll use that same I'll use that same pink color. So we have the lapel receding back up there. Oops, there we go. So now my shoulder has been fixed. Yeah, really small changes. Really, I mean, you already had a really strong foundation, so we're not doing anything crazy. Most of the work, to be honest, is for this shoulder over here. You can see that we've maintained your really sassy pose, the really dynamic hip out pose that you have, this very fashionable pose, and we just re-added some of the structure to this near shoulder here. Before, after, before, after. Really didn't make very many changes. And I think critiques like these just go to show that you guys are already doing really good work. You know what I mean? One of the things I like to do is show you all the parts that are really successful in case, it's not as obvious, a lot of people will submit something and say, "Well, it's not very good," or "I didn't really know how to do this, that, or the other thing." But the thing is that like you've already done a lot of really good work here, and this is only supposed to make you realize that even more obviously. Like I made very subtle changes, and those very subtle changes just enhance what you already put down, if that makes sense. Let me grab let me highlight out this hand a little bit. Let me use a darker, like a gray, maybe even like a blue. One of the things here, when you have black in an outfit, I tend to avoid in art in general, I tend to avoid solid black. You did that here with this veil. You conveyed transparency by, just making it a lighter transparency. But actually, this like deep navy color that has appeared by overlaying your black on top of this blue hair is actually probably what your black should be entirely. It's a very subtle change, but overall, it'll kind of harmonize things a little bit and it'll make it a little easier for you to utilize the black without losing the shape of things. So if I just take this blue, this really dark navy, you probably won't even be able to tell much of a difference. But now if you had any line art, your line art is, you can see there's still some black there. And I can use a slightly lighter bluish gray shade to pull out some of these fingers here. So if we had like the edges of the finger, you know, instead of I think a really good example would be old comic books. The characters that have black hair tend to have blue highlights on the hair so that they can define the shape and silhouette without without having to use more detail necessarily or complicate the shape. They just add blue highlights. And yeah, it looks like there are these really interesting like nails, maybe even like metallic or metal. So what I would want is to see a little bit more of them. You used a softer sketchy brush to define them, and it looks like they have this like delicate lace almost happening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to improv over top, and in order to really have them stick out, I'm going to make sure that I'm using a color that gives me a little bit more contrast, and I'm going to add a little bit of a shine to imply a different material. One of the easiest things you can do to make art look a little bit more intentional is to vary the way that you're rendering stuff or the way that you're like shading it to give it the implication that it is a different material. That can also help when things are getting kind of lost and don't have a lot of contrast because you can add a highlight or a shine on something and that will immediately give it a little bit more contrast. So we'll have these metallic, almost lacy nails, these caps. They're kind of metal, yeah. I don't know the name of it, but it's jewelry that goes over the fingertips. Admittedly, an afterthought, which they weren't rendered in full. Hey, no problem. We still could see that. Like even here, even if it was an afterthought in the actual drawing, we could still see and get that vibe. So a really easy fix on my side, I can just add this like cuff piece around the tip of the finger. But that's a really cool addition, adding some sort of jewelry, because it's a small detail, but it adds a lot. And so now you can see just how much contrast this has. Obviously, there's a lot, it's a little messy over over here, but we can see these a lot more because we've added those highlights, and it also gives it the implication that it is a shiny material. Um, and we can follow that up too. You've done that here in this earring. It looks metallic because of that high contrast. A really easy tip for stuff like this is if you are trying to make something metallic, put high contrast right next to each other. And by doing high contrast next to each other, it immediately makes it look metallic. You might be saying, this doesn't look like anything. But if I were to, let me get the shape, let me take this. Actually, JK, let me grab a rectangle. Let me grab this rectangle. And now that looks a little bit more, but let me, with it still selected, let me blur it a little bit. No, let me blur it a little bit. I had my selection was still inverted. Now we're getting a little bit more of that metal kind of look with with very literally just stripes. So yeah, if it's high contrast next to each other, tends to make it look shinier, a little bit more chromatic. Oops, looks like that was the same layer. So yeah, it's super easy to get some metal, and it also adds a little, draws your attention there a little bit more. So yeah, you can see, and then you could do those same techniques here on the belt. Add that highlight, a little bit of a highlight here, bam, and a little bit of a low light color. Let me make it a little bit lighter, a little bit of a low light, and give it just a bit of that shininess. And immediately, wow, yeah. And now your belt buckle sticks out way more and it looks like a different material. You can always do exclamation point critique. It is a form. Anybody that submits today will have their piece reviewed for the next critique because we do have 13 submissions for this one. There we go. And I will send these to you after the critique so that you have them as reference for the future. So yeah, so just having a little bit more material. And again, you've already kind of implied that here with this sheerness that you've added. So now we can do that in similar places. Again, you did that in the earring. So let me try doing that in a different way. So I'm going to add a little bit of a shine to these glasses here. And now I've been given a whole brand new material. Very quick, very easy. Um, yeah, awesome. I love critique. Yeah, these are really fun. These are really cool. Super excited that we get to go back to them. Um, yeah. So I think too, adding this little bit of navy into the gloves will just harmonize everything. Just include, brings a little bit more into the areas that are very dark. So let me just try real quick. I'm just gonna select the top of the hat here, about where I think this is going to end, and I'm gonna take that navy a little bit lighter, and I have a really soft brush, and now I've added form to this hat. You see that? Really, really subtle. Didn't have to do very much, and now I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna select only the brim here, about where it meets this base here, and I'm gonna almost invert this because the lighting, if it's coming from up here, it's going to catch this brim here. And our main goal is to make sure that we're emphasizing contrast. And when you render stuff like this, the do like big broad strokes first to just kind of get your shape, and then make that smaller to get a crisper edge. And so now our hat has gone from this to this. We have a little bit more. And even then, if I want to keep this looking like a suede or something really soft, I'm not going to want to go too crazy with how light things go because, like we said before, if it's got a high contrast right next to each other, it's going to look metallic. And for something that might be like a velvet or a suede or like a soft material, we do not want that. So I'm going to just be really subtle with where I add just a little bit more light, very careful, because I don't want to get too light and completely change the material of this hat. But I have now added incredible contrast. So you can see this is the edge of the hat, this is the brim of the hat, and we didn't do very much. We didn't have to change anything crazy. Welcome to the mall. Thanks so much for the follow. So yeah, before, after, before, after. Didn't change the silhouette of your work, didn't have to even do too much. Really just lasso tooled. And again, if you don't have a soft gradiated style, so let's say you don't really like using soft gradients and things in your rendering, no worries. That's where, remember I mentioned the comic book style? We're gonna take a really dark blue and we're gonna use a hard edge brush and we're just gonna go in here and we're gonna mark out, again, if you don't use soft textures, it might be a little harder to convey soft materials like suede. However, make the contrast a little less severe and it'll look a little less intense. And you can go in here, bring out that edge there. Very simple, but now you've just used two lines to make your hat have a bit more form. Before, after. And then, you can combine them, just kind of play around, see what kind of works with your style. But very, very easy to make those changes. And again, you've already played with transparency with this lace, so I think that's really cool. Nothing to complain about that. And I think my one last critique, overall, aside from that, we could add a little bit more panache to the shapes we're using, just like we did with the coat. So let me grab this. I'm gonna exaggerate this pant leg a little bit because you have already a really strong pose. So what I'm gonna do first is I am going to take this leg and I'm gonna push it back just a little. Just so now our character, and let me show you a little bit more what I was doing. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna undo my change, and I'm gonna paste over it. So now, oops, let me grab this color, bam. So we have before, after. And now we've widened this stance, we've given a little bit more perspective, but we didn't change very much. Before, after. And now let me go in and I'm gonna only slightly adjust the shape of this pant leg. Because now we're not going for necessarily we've definitely used a reference here. So now we're breaking from our reference and we're adding a little bit more interest because we're drawing this piece. So we're gonna maintain that hip, and I'm gonna do this really exaggerated sweep here. Really just showing that the hip is where this is coming from, and we're gonna just kind of bring it in, sweep it out, and just kind of round that cuff down there. And I'll do the same thing over here. We've got this nice top here, swoop it out. We're gonna taper it in here towards the knee, but not too much because this is a straight leg trouser. So we're not trying to alter the shape of this trouser. We're just doing very small changes to just further further bring out the detail you already put in this work. So now our pant legs look a little bit more appropriate, and let me lift this far pant leg just a little bit so that the same amount of shoe is being revealed as well. There we go. So now let me draw over with our colors so it's a little bit easier to see what that does to the silhouette of this character. Very simple change. Nothing buck wild, nothing too nutty. I'm gonna cut in just a little bit there. Now we have this really nice graceful sweep over here. Cut in this area here. Lovely. And then this becomes shoe. Nice. Oh, I've become a worm. There we go. All right, let me group these together. So now we have I'm going to keep it zoomed out so you can see the impact it has before, after. Everything on that far side, including our elbow over here, has just been lifted right up. Before, after. And it's even more exaggerated by this really cool hem that you did. So now everything, all the direction of this character, I'll use another color, the direction of this character's pose, bam. You see that? Boop, 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 boop. Now our pose, and with this back foot being brought up, we've just added a little bit more stability. We've added more stability to this character. Before, after, before, after. Really simple changes, super simple, and I haven't really altered the integrity of your art. So, wonderful job. Wonderful job. Just a really cool character. The last thing, I know I said last thing last time. Last thing is I think we can do a little bit more justice to this arm here. And I think we just do it a little bit, well, I'll just draw right over, having the arm bent just a smidge, just to make it look a little bit more natural than this straight up and down. Have our elbow. Again, you'll be hard pressed to find too many straight lines um in actuality. But if everything in this piece was that exaggerated straightness, that would be different. That would be a stylistic choice rather than, you know, just having a really straight, you know. And if we wanted to too, we'd probably have a little bit of this instead. And I'm gonna curve this cuff down a little bit more just to give the effect that it's down. You know what accessory would work with this fit? A black folded fan. That would be really cool. That'd be awesome. I'm gonna move this hand in a little bit actually too, so we have a little bit more width to it. There, really subtle change. Before, after. Really just a gentle bend to this arm just to make it look a little less flat. Before, after, before, after. Even this hand might even be better suited to have a little bit more width to it, but nothing crazy. In fact, too, we probably wouldn't see as much of it because it'd probably be tucked up more under the sleeve here. So let me just get that back right. Same. It's giving the opposite of a hoe never gets cold. This hoe is cold, but like cool. Cool cold, you know what I mean? But yeah, so oops. Thank you so much for sharing this piece again before Oops. Before, after. Really cool character. I really like this. And like I said, I'll send this your way. But if you ever have any questions, feel free to ask them. But yeah, really awesome character, and I really like this. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Of course, of course. Very fab. Hell yeah, yeah. Let me open up our next one. Can we get a hype in the chat? Oh yeah. The next one is from Soulless Bones. Big anxiety, but I appreciate absolutely. Honestly, too, it is so understandable to be nervous about sharing your art. Hell yeah, hell yeah. It's so understandable to be nervous about sharing your art, especially because sometimes people just don't get feedback like this often or at all. And so, you know, things like this hopefully make it a little easier to talk about your work in the future, but also reaffirm that you're doing a really good job. At least that's what I hope. I hope. I hope. All right, let's open this next one up. It is a very good character. Hell yeah. So this next one is Soulless Bones. Let me update my text. Boop, boop, boop. There we go. Hell yeah. So we have here a stylized furry character in a really interesting looking environment. I really like the colors. You're amazing at explaining your process, uplifting. Oh, thank you. That's very nice. You know what? I that is my biggest hope is that people feel uplifted. My motto for the art critiques is like people have already heard it, but like if you leave feeling worse than you did when you came in, then I did a shit job. It's my fault, not your fault. So, so we have this really interesting pose and a fun dichotomy between this hyper pop color background and this minimalized color, like very minimal colored foreground character. And the background gives me the idea about like an alien planet. I almost, because of the combination of the character in the background, it almost makes me feel about like Sonic, how you have these really vibrant surrealist backgrounds. Also gives me a little bit of Dragon Ball Z. I'm in this very interesting sci-fi fantasy realm. And again, we don't know anything about this character. We haven't really interacted. Might give some critique as well as professional furry artist. I mean, you certainly can. We, it depends on the individual if they are willing to receive critique from others aside from myself, but I'm happy to hear it in the chat. DBZ Nemec, hell yeah. Hell yeah, let me look that up. Hold on. Let me look that up. DBZ Nemec. Oh, I gotta look. Oh yeah, oh yeah. Cool planet. Here's an interesting one. Let me copy. Hi, Roxy, how are you? Well, look at the smallest fucking image. All right, well, this is the smallest image on Earth. The smallest goddamn image on Earth, but you can see here these unnatural color pairings. Actually, this is a really fun color scheme, but these cool toned environments. Yeah, it's basically a pixel image, but having a green sky really is what brought me to like Dragon Ball Z. Uh Hi, how are ya? Welcome in. So yeah, having this green here, and also this like red magenta grass, very interesting. Um, John Cooltone, yeah. So yeah, if you have anything you want to contribute, please feel free. Um, has anything by Moody Boy gone up yet? No, we have only finished one. Wow! Congrats on being a super shopper. No, Moody, yours is going to come up sometime. Let me see actually when yours is. Doot, 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 doot. Where is it? Hello? Where did I put it? It's in here. Oh, yours is, let's see. I just have them in alphabetical order. So yours is a little further down the line. Here's a little further down the line. So first up, I'll go with composition. I really like the pose of this character. Oh, stretching. Okay, thank you. Oh, stretching. Yeah. Thank you. Ugh. All right, I see. Thank you. Alright, I'll take my sip, I'll fix my
Have you
shit.
taken a sip of your water lately?
Mhm.
Good posture doesn't have
Thank
to
you.
cost you an arm and a leg.
Thank you. So first off, I'm gonna go with composition. We're already getting this really interesting, like I mentioned, this alien planet kind of vibe, or just this sci-fi surrealism, which is really interesting. Um, and for the composition, uh, so when the dance music happens, it goes to emote only, so people can spam emotes. That's why, and then it turns off. That's it. So the composition here is really interesting. I like the directionality of the ears. So they're pointing us this way. We've got the hair kind of following this, but it's really just doing this one large S curve. Which let me put something over top of the art to make it a little easier to see the notes that I'm doing. Let me put it on multiply. All right. So I've darkened the art so it's a little easier to see what I'm talking about here. But yeah, we have this really awesome S shape. Yeah, this line of action. That's a really good animation term. And the artist has affirmed it with parts of the anatomy. The tail placement, yeah. How high or how low? It's pretty centered. So if I move my line over a little bit here, you can see that the back line here stays pretty consistent. Um, there's not really a lot of straying of center, and again, we have this really dynamic line of action. Kind of places our character in this really dramatic twist, and other features are following it. You see here the arm, this wing is following that direction, the curve of the back on the other side, and you can see here that it kind of splits to give us this stabilization, gives us a wider base so our character doesn't look unstable. And then you have little bits of that are kind of flowing outward from it just to add some interest and to give us a little bit more breakage from our silhouette. So there's a lot of really cool posing here. It's a really fun area. If you push the curve of the tail further out or to the right, it wouldn't be so confusing. Yeah, so that's another thing too that I'll get into talking about silhouette. There are a couple different ways that the tail could be posed for silhouette. Uh, and let me use a different color. So the base of the tail looks like it is appropriately positioned on the character's back, but we can pose the tail a little bit differently to break it apart from these legs. So one thing that we could do is move the entire character over so that they're centered. So we have a little bit more room over here to push our tail. So let me do that. But let me make a solid background first. So if we moved our character over to center them, we're moving that over. And let me grab just the corner of this uh, to kind of stretch out and make a little bit more of a background for us. Oops. Actually, let me just copy. No. Copy, paste. There we go. There we go. I'm just, you might be saying, Mandy, that looks like shit. Don't worry. It's supposed to. Put it behind. There we go. All right, so now we have moved our character a little bit more center. We have a little bit more room to work with. So now what I'm going to do here is the base of our tail is oriented in the right place. So now I'm going to follow some of these curves and bring the tail out more like this. Really separate it from the legs and give ourselves a little bit more variety so that the legs and the tail are very separated from one another. Something like this. So now we can see here, if I get rid of my, that our legs are now able to fully shine and do their own thing. Leg, we can assume other leg. Now we could also lift our leg to our rear leg to further put this character in the space. So let's do something like this. You know, we have this come up here. The knee area might be a little bit higher. The foot might be a little bit higher, like this. We're not changing too much of our lines of action, but we are making this character have a little bit more depth. S&C Corp, Mandy Store's subsidiary. No, no. Yeah, the S&C curves up in here, absolutely. So yeah, lifting this far leg and moving the tail out breaks up the confusion that we have here in the lower body. And now what I'll do is I'll try to draw over so that we can kind of get an idea of what that will look like in practice. So it's a little bit more obvious. I'll make a new layer. This is what takes a little bit more time, just coloring it in a little. The bottom foot here is red. We have this interesting on-off kind of situation, like the red and blue being on opposite sides. I think that also gave me the Sonic vibe. Characters tend to have these really interesting like primary color, uh, design elements, and they're put in some interesting places. All right, the tip of the tail was blue. That's one thing also. I feel like the blue and red, because the tail is only one color. Who's that
It's
Pokemon?
Pikachu! It's Clefairy!
Hi, Dre. You've reminded me that I need to turn off the sound alerts for the Pokemon stuff. But all right, so now you can kind of see a little bit better the changes that we've made to this pose. And let me group these changes together so you can see. Here's the before, here's the after. We've kind of put this character a little bit more in space. And we Thanks. Thanks for texting. We put this character more in space and we've varied the silhouette, put that tail a little bit different. This is actually looking like it's too high. So let me fix that by just lowering it a little bit. Oops. Oops. Let me lower it a little bit. Hello? Let go. There we go. So yeah, a little bit, and maybe even two, skewing it off to the side a smidge, just to keep this nice, strong triangular base. Before, after, before, after. Yeah, the wings are really cool. And one thing I think is that I want to see, because the tail was blue on the tip, but we have blue and red. Oops. I would want to see something like a combination of the two. So have introduced this purple that we have here, or introduce another character, another color to be an in between, act as an in between. Y'all, I'm forgetting how to talk. So the easiest option would be yellow, having a yellow as the third of the primary colors. Or like I said, introducing that purple in other areas, kind of like a blend, or having the blue and the red split. There's a lot of different things you could do for a character design like this. I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I don't want to change too much, of this person's vision and the character that they're making. But yeah, having something having the purple as a mixture, kind of acts like the in between the red and the blue. It also ties into the accessories here. Even, I'll even take this more of a plum color. This yeah, there we go, a little bit more of a red violet. And then that way too, and you can see here that they already have fur, or at least a design on the fur that is purple. This star that we get a little bit of a little bit of a view of. But yeah, the wings are done really well. We can see here that they do look like they're coming from the same area on the back, and so we're getting a little bit more of this shape here, which is this part right here. Hi, Unlucky. How are ya? Hi, 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 I'm your little butterfly. Hi. Yeah, 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 yeah. Hi there. The only difference here that I'm seeing is that the flight feathers on this wing are different lengths. Got my car fixed. Oh heck yeah! I love to hear that. I hope everything's all good with your car. Let me choose a bright, obnoxious color. So the flight feathers here are this long, and let me duplicate this and show how long they are on this side in comparison. They're a little bit longer here, and the wings aren't so much far up they're not so far apart that I feel like the change in scale is quite necessary. Oh, that's true. There it is. Sorry about that. Hold on. So many buttons and things I gotta look at. Hold on. Oh, okay. There it is again. Man, the stuff just doesn't wanna work.
You got
Whoa!
mail.
Oh my goodness! Soda, welcome in, Raiders. Oh my god, the ads are coming in. Oh, jeepers. Oh, geez. Welcome, Raiders. I'm Mandy Quinn, Mall Mannequin. I'm an illustrator, animator, and a professional goober. How are you? You're saying hi to remove the phone. I have to manually lift and lower the phone myself. How are you? Welcome, Raiders. Like I said, I'm Mandy Quinn, Mall Mannequin, an illustrator, animator, professional goober, and today we're doing an art critique. How are you, Soda? How was your stream? What were you doing? Welcome in. If I don't think the ads will affect Raiders. Oh my god, so adorable. But y'all, let me know. I can give you a proper greeting after the ads, but welcome in, y'all. How's your stream? What were you up to today? Welcome in. If you guys don't already know me, you can check out my socials. I hang out on Blue Sky, I do all sorts of stuff over there. But I draw stuff like this. I draw stuff like this. This is my kind of art. And I'm super excited to share my art with others and give people some critique and advice. Heck yeah. So welcome in. And again, if you need to go take care of yourself, please do. Get something good to eat, something good to drink. But welcome in. Aw. And sorry about the ads. I'll greet people properly after the ads as well. I despise that you can't like when you get a raid that you can't like keep the ads from coming because a raid has been triggered, you know what I mean? That always grinds my gears. It was fun. I was playing this spooky hidden object game. It was very fun. Finally have a honk model done. I'm streaming again. Hell yeah. Oh my, I'd love to see your model if you ever want to show it or share it. But thank you so much for the raid. Yeah, it when the ad is within a minute of starting, you can't snooze it, I don't think. The snooze was grayed out, so I could not stop them. I think once it gives you a countdown to the ads being initiated, it will not let you stop them. Spy Spooky Mansion, hell yeah. Oh my god. Well, I'm super excited to see that you're streaming, and I'm really fortunate that you passed your community my way. Welcome, Raiders. I'm so excited to see you. We are currently looking at Soulless Bones art. We're doing critique, so this is what they submitted, and here is the small tweaks that we have done. I was just getting into the wings, but welcome, Raiders. I hope you have a good time. Let me see here. So we were just talking about the wings. One of the things that I would like to do is maintain that the longest, the tip, uh, the tip should be the longest feather. Anatomically, they come out as the longest feather in the flight feathers. Flight feathers are this long cluster here, and they are called flight feathers because they can produce a lot of height in a wing. There are different areas of the wings that do different things. They if you've ever watched an area, an airplane wing as it, it's adjusting how high or how low, you'll see, maybe this region of the wing like opens up and turns higher or lower. So feathers have a lot of really cool functionality that, you wouldn't really expect. So we want to keep these flight feathers here long and this longest one at the end. So instead of adjusting this near, I will just adjust the far because the near already has, you know, mostly the correct length here. So now we are just adjusting our far wing to follow that. There we go. And yeah, so now this has a very satisfying shape here. In fact, too, we could even exaggerate that shape just a little bit to give it a little bit more of a dramatic look. So before, after, before, after, and again, I'll come out here and I'll bring these feathers out just to to break up the cleanness, but that gives us a really dramatic swoop and just adds a little bit more interest. Your interface is really cool. Thank you so much and welcome in. Yeah, I made everything you see here on the screen except for the little guys down below, but I did design them. But yeah, everything I made in Adobe Illustrator. Someone who works with feathers a lot, the final primary tends to be the longest. The pattern of feathers can curve inwards, so the lengthening of the feathers is not linear. Yes, I agree. I bred birds for over 12 years, and interacted with wings and feathers every day, for a long portion of my life. So yes, I agree. Um, Typically, though, they tend to follow a fan shape, and you can take a look at anatomy graphs of bird wings. These are a very specific type of wing. They're also very exaggerated here in this like angelic kind of situation. So they're not meant to be literal, but we can kind of make sure that at least the tippest wing, the most tip wing, is the longest, and that will just help with our silhouette. Mandy lore, more like Mandy trauma. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so the if we were looking at this like an actual wing, there's quite a few things we could change, but I think because we are going for a very specific look, um, it has been stylized. So you'd have the shoulder here, you'd have an elbow here, you'd have a wrist joint here, and everything would just kind of follow from this and would have different segments. So actually, it might be quite a bit shorter here, quite a bit longer here, and scoop out this way rather than curving down. But it also depends on what part of the flight path it's on. When the wing is flapping and the air is pushing this wing around, the feathers can go in all sorts of ways. But this is just an example. It is not the end all be all. And I think the wings are really successful in this piece. In fact, you could curve them in a little bit more if you wanted to, but I think our small change that we did here is more than enough to. Oops, I can't even undo. I have to change my undos. But yeah, so you can see here that the small changes that we did make were pretty good, just enough to extend that flight feather out. Do you think birds make good pets? I feel like all bird owners say that they're not, even though they love their pets. It really depends on the type of bird. Um, Ideally, large parrots should not be kept as pets because they are essentially toddlers. And if you don't want a kid, then don't get a parrot, like a big parrot. The larger the bird, the more intelligent they are. All animals are very intelligent. But the larger the bird, the more responsibility, the more childlike this creature is. And not everybody is able or prepared to take on the responsibility of literally raising a child. And like, yeah, like you said, a child that will outlive you. A lot of large parrots will make it to 60 years old or more. And and sometimes they can make it close to 100 years. And these birds love and cherish you as much as you love and cherish them. So they are emotionally attached to their family, and if you pass on before they do, they are devastated, and it takes a very specific and determined person to take care of them afterwards. So for very, very large parrots, especially exotic species that are, very expensive and like captured from the wild, I would not recommend them at all. Um I don't participate in bird anything anymore. Um but I think something small like a parakeet or a cockatiel, a lot of them, if you can get a rescue animal and you are educated and capable of taking care of them, please choose to rescue rather than to purchase from, you know, a breeder. Because rescuing, you are now becoming part of a solution to an animal, not not having a good life, and so now you can help them with that specifically. Yeah, so many parrots, yeah, and so there's a lot of 30-year-old birds out there, or 50-year-old birds that just kinda get an owl, you need a cage the size of a room. Yeah, don't get owls. Do not buy owls, don't purchase owls. I believe owls in a lot of areas of America are illegal to have. Don't and you see a lot on, I guess this has become a commentary on the pet trade. You see a lot in, like, those owl cafes and stuff, especially in Japan, but they're getting very popular elsewhere. Don't get owls. Don't get They are predators. Did you know they eat meat? They kill things. And they are supposed to have not a room, but a sanctuary. In fact, just don't I would recommend not getting, an exotic animal at all if you can help it. I feel like some pets aren't meant to be pets, absolutely. It's just because they make money and people sell them to get money from them. You know what I mean? It's kinda buck nutty. I'm gonna take this wing here, and I am going to copy, and I'm actually gonna move it back just a smudge. I think we spent way too much time on the wing itself. Let me grab this here, move it back just a smidge, because we can probably get a little bit more of this shoulder blade back just by moving it, back, and we can show the origin point of the wing would be about here. Let me make a bright color. The origin of the wing would be about here if we want to match it up to that one. So aside from pushing it back, we didn't do very much. We just pushed it back a little bit. And let me erase this right here. Hawks in medieval times are treated like crap insider knowledge. Yeah, I just recommend if you are not a trained professional in the zoological or veterinary fields, do not handle or interact with or purchase or do anything with birds. What's the shipping situation with your merch? I believe they do quite a bit of international shipping, but it really just depends on the provider. I use Fourth Wall, which is a site that utilizes print on demand services from a bunch of different companies. So it would really just depend on the individual companies for individual products, but I believe a lot of them have varied shipping. You would really just have to take a look at it yourself and see, but I believe they offer shipping to very many places, but I can't guarantee. I don't know, but that's a good thing for me to look into. Just wanted to say hi. I have your stream up. I'm gonna be watching an anime with some. Oh hell yeah! What anime are you watching? And I can also get better information about that. Hi Neo, happy Sunday. Here, let me get back into this. We talked a lot about animals. I'm not an animal professional. I just happened to have a very specific childhood. But yeah, I don't recommend getting large birds. I recommend rescuing birds if you do want a bird. Back line at the very top would curve towards the neck just a bit more aligned with the tail at the bottom. Yeah, it we are also offsetting the back of the neck here with this scarf. I think for all intents and purposes, the top of the spine is fine, and we can just realign it here. Right here. Done. Done. Easy fix. Flock of geese is fun though, fella. They follow you everywhere. Yeah, don't get a flock of geese. The next life as a villainess, all rights lead to doom. Oh, it was a light novel, a light novel anime. Actually, very cute, but I love it. It seems like a fun one. I don't watch a lot of those, but it sounds like a good one. So yeah, so we have basically just adjusted the silhouette. We spent a little bit too much time, I think, but we've adjusted the silhouette. So here's what we had before. Here's what we have after. Mostly silhouette. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to adjust some of the lighting because I think we can push the lighting on this a little bit further. Everything is a little bit disjointed. Editing a comedy shipping vid. Oh hell yeah! Do you edit often? How much editing do you do? So I'm curious now. So with a character that is mostly white, we're going to see a lot of their environment reflected in it. Love listening to these critiques, but I'm on 22 hours with no sleep. Gonna go fix that. Yeah, get a good night's sleep. My goodness. Go take care of yourself. I'm very new to edit. Yeah, I have very little editing experience, but that's cool that you're working on it. Wow. Hi, Drake. How are you? Gonna learn because it's mood. Huge mood. So yeah, so we have a character that's mostly white, and so we're gonna be seeing a lot of their environment reflected onto them. That's why, if you have a lighter colored object like a t-shirt, you're gonna see, not only will that light color reflect onto the skin of whoever's wearing the shirt, but other colors around will reflect onto it. So I think we can incorporate this character a little bit more into their environment and just do really easy things to get them looking more like they're in this place. So let me copy my work and now I'm merging it. I'm going to separate this character from the background really, really messily just so that I have a little bit more freedom of lighting them. And again, some of my edits are gonna look a little off. Don't worry about it. But I'm gonna separate this character from this background very messily so that I can just give you very quick and dirty lighting tips. But yeah, the character's pose is really cool. We only had to do very few things to get them just a little bit more exciting in the pose. But really, this over the shoulder is really interesting, and I think it really makes for a cool piece. And I like the design of this character. I think it's simple, but it's effective. So let me just get a little bit more of this, clean up some of my areas that I didn't select so well. Oops. There we go. Done. Oop, JK. Found this part. There we go. All right. So I'm going to separate the character from the background. And so now we have, a little bit more to work with. Actually, there we go. Cut. Thanks. All right. So now let me fix the background, just fill it in with some basic colors. I think the colors in the background, I'm going to just maintain what they are. I'm not going to do too much change with those. Um, the sky scene, it's very, like I said, it's very surrealist. We're getting some really interesting cultural, like we said, we were thinking about Dragon Ball Z, we're thinking about all sorts of stuff. I mean, even Dr. Seuss with some of the color choices, but other way, it's just kind of otherworldly, kind of interesting. So let me just do very basic. There we go. Just trying to get a solid background here. There we go. Not worried about it too much. There we go. So here's our character, and I think we can blend them a little bit more into the scenery. Um, we'll be back. Okay, cool. Take your time. Thank you so much for the raid, by the way. Doing fun edits are so hard because by the time I'm done, I'm like, this joke is old and no longer funny. Editing takes forever. It takes so long. My God. So be strong. You're doing great. First thing I'm gonna do, because our character is mostly white, I'm gonna take a copy of our background and I'm gonna paste it over top of our character. I'm gonna clip mask it in and I'm gonna change the opacity. And you might be saying, now it just looks like this character is a vision. But now I'm gonna go to overlay. I've have it at 40% overlay. And now, before, after, this character looks way more integrated into this background here, just because there is a subtle shift in color. Very, very subtle. The easiest way to do this, honestly, is, whatever the dominant color in your background is. So for us, it'd probably be this like turquoisey color. You could just do a solid overlay on top of it, and it immediately just harmonizes this character's very warm colors, but a lot of this blue should be bouncing off, and the green should be bouncing off of this character. And because we used our background, we have this very interesting gradient happening to the effect, whereas these colors are very solid. My life's ambition is to be a funny clown. Honestly, that's a pretty good ambition to have. And now I'm going to go over top with another clipping mask, and I'm going to start adding more light from this background onto my character to just further place them in the scene. So I'm going to take this turquoise here, and I'm going to use a nice soft brush, and where these surfaces are going to be receiving light underneath, bounce light up from our surroundings, I'll just add a little bit of softness. Let me change the transparency, and let me see if I can't find light and color looks pretty good. Actually, light and color doesn't make any difference. So it's just at 60%. I'm also going to take a soft eraser and I'm going to, pull out some of the areas that wouldn't be hit directly with that light and maybe soften some things so it's not so sharp. Have a more gradual transition. So now, before, after, we have a little bit of that blue coming up here. If you slowly turn down from 100 opacity to 0, you have a voiceover saying, "You have to let me go. The accident wasn't your fault." No. No. No, no. They do have an angelic presence, but not that angelic. So now you can see here that I'm just finding areas in shadow that would be otherwise, just a solid color. And now we've put some of this sky on this, and it's really just making this look a little bit more like this character is inside this environment. This character is now part of this environment. And two, because our light is very clearly coming from this other side here, our lighting is coming from, oh, hold on. Our light is coming from here. We want to maintain that. So this is area of shadow where our light from the sky is bouncing back to make this seem like a rounded piece. Other areas that I would put this on are probably the tail here. Um, and areas of the I'm actually gonna turn it a little bit green now because it's reflecting where the sky is a little bit more green. But since the blue is on top, I'm gonna take that blue up here, make it a little lighter even. And now you can see here that our character is just getting a little bit more with each small thing we do, our character feels more and more integrated into this environment that they're in, just by small lighting tricks. And we can even do I know this orange outline's a little confusing. Let me see if I can't just it's gonna be really thick if I do this. Ugh. But at least it's not orange. So I'm gonna do the same thing here with this. Ooh, that got kind of dramatic all of a sudden. I'm gonna do the same thing here with the far side of the back because that light is going to be hitting that back. So let me select that and maybe the side of the leg here. And I'm gonna take that soft brush again and I'm gonna start again bringing the environment up into this character, probably a lighter color. And now our tail is a little bit more offset from the things behind it. They're a little bit more separated from each other, and it's really just subtle lighting. Subtle lighting changes, nothing crazy. Yeah, counter lighting is pretty advanced. Yeah, it just depends on what kind of rendering style you have as well. So if you'd like to do cell shading, you might not need something like this, but you could incorporate a little bit of it or rim lighting, like a hard edge rim lighting, to really have a dramatic effect. I just use like a sharp brush. Here, let me do another. For rim lighting, you could just do something like that. Very dramatic, but super easy. You just have like a light on that side. But if you don't have such a strong light source, you might not need that. Our main goal with lighting like this is to just to put this character a little bit further in the scene. Again, here's the before. These were the original colors, and here's the after. It's really subtle, but now our character looks a little bit more melded in with this environment without having to do very much. And we're really just thinking of where the light is coming from behind this character, like we did before. I'm just going to, oops, with my soft brush, I am just going to very gently add that blue here on the tops that would be receiving that blue light from the sky here. And we have this sunlight almost that's on this front face. So now we've just added a little bit more depth. Any tips on making characters marketable like Sanrio quality? I guess my biggest thing would be simplicity. Simplicity makes it way easier to draw them, makes it way easier to manufacture them. And simplicity in every sense of the word just makes it easier for people to project things onto them. If your goal is marketability, um, that is the case, just simplicity. Um, and that means that they are way, way easier to reproduce, way easier to manufacture. But if you have a complex character, doesn't mean that they can't be, but it's more expensive. Um, a good example is the Has Been Hotel characters or Hell of a Boss, the Vivzy Pop universe. They do have marketable plushes for those characters simply due to high demand, but the designs of the characters are very advanced. So you end up with plushies that are just fabric figurines because they can't be rounded. The characters' silhouettes are highly dependent on being sharp and angular, which is very hard to reproduce as a soft object. So then you have to do what we see a lot in anime plushies, where they have a very simplified head, but then they have that piece of felt that is like cut out to be their hair because they just can't easily produce that without it getting really bulky and, uh, then more expensive to manufacture. So if stuff's simple, if it's round, and tends not to have a lot going on, it'll do better. A really good example I recommend is to look at Pokemon plush and see which Pokemon plush do well, because they do tend for the Pokemon centers, they do tend to make at least 1 item per Pokemon. Obviously they cycle them out, but the Pokemon that have a lot going on tend not to sell very much, so they don't make very much variety. Obviously, your Pikachu and your starters are all very round, so that they're marketable. And then their evolutions get a little bit more complicated because they aren't planning on selling anything about the evolutions. They're really just planning on selling the starters, their first evolution. So, you know. But yeah, if you want a masterclass in simplicity, take a look at Miffy. Yeah, honestly, Sanrio is a really good example of simplicity in character design. Also look at children's cartoons because they are mostly funded by the promise that they will sell merchandise. The exception are the fashion doll lines. So like Monster High is a series that is based around a doll franchise, not the other way around. Whereas with like children's things like, you know, Bluey, obviously the style is guided more so in like children's learning. Yeah, like the Ludo studio did a lot of work to make their characters um not because they wanted to make merchandise off of them, but because they wanted to make a style that is um best for children's focus and learning and stuff. But a lot of you know, a lot of money goes into just branding characters. So, mostly actually in the 80s and 90s, like He-Man and Transformers were all just made to sell toys. Um, and you know what I mean? I'm gonna do the same thing here that we were doing. I'm gonna add a little bit of blue to these shadows here, and that will now even further push the face from the hair in the back here. See that really simple change that we have here? Let me group this together. Actually, do I have anything here? No, these aren't anything. So here's our before, here's our after. Really just adds a little bit of atmosphere, didn't have to do very much. I wish to also be a marketable plush. Me too. That'd be really fun. But I have a lot going on, so I'd have to make a simpler version of myself. So yeah, I think we've done all we can with this piece. Let me group this together and just show again our whole before and our whole after. Before, after, before, after. Really didn't have to do too much to make this character really shine, and I think it was a really fun piece. Hell yeah! So thank you so much to Solus Bones for submitting this, and we're gonna get into the next one. We're gonna get into the next one. The next one, a Chatter Guy plushie. I was thinking about that. For my 2-year anniversary, I have a hopefully I'll have a new model and some extra stuff. Basically doing a big revamp. Um, that I'm currently working very hard to do. It's taking a lot, actually not a lot of all of my free time. But I do want to see if I can make a acrylic standee of Mandy. But those would require like a pre-order, so people would have to be interested. And I think it's a minimum of 150 maybe, if I'm not mistaken, or 50. I think it might be 50. But there are also acrylic keychains and stuff like that. Um, Let me open up the next one. So this next one is an emote, which is very specific. I don't think we've had an emote submitted before. So let me, and again, I don't know who the emote is for, so I don't have that additional context, but we will just have to treat this as a standalone emote and fill in some of the blanks. Let me grab, this is Squid Fanatics piece. Let me grab that and pop that over here. Wanna put it on my desk. That's so sweet. I wish that I could do something really, like, crazy, like a super custom, um, they have some that spin, they have some that have, like, one side's one thing is the other. But unfortunately, I don't have the ability currently and the spoons to do self-fulfillment, And for those really specific products, you'd have to order them in bulk first and then ship them out yourself, and I don't have that capability right now. But with Fourth Wall, my current merchandise, distribution situation, it's all print on demand aside from the acrylic products, which, need a little bit more funding initially so that they can justify, producing them and sending them. Um, Also love to have Chatterguy statue with levitating head using magnets. That'd be really fun. They do have magnets, so, uh, I will that's actually really fun. I might do some Chatterguy magnets, especially because I could make different dongles and you know what I mean? You could, uh you could use the little different accessories. Bobblehead. Yeah, that's cute. Yeah, all the custom products are currently not something that I can do. Um, I'm making a shaker right now and trying to chat with the manufacturers over it. It's like pulling teeth. It's wild how hard it is sometimes to convey what you want even though you tell them exactly what you want. All right, so this is an emote. I'm not familiar with the person that the emote is for, but we could see that they definitely have a need to whip out a Bible. This is called Cleo Fearful, so afraid of chat or whatever they're cooking over there. And one of the things here is with emotes, we tend to want simplicity, just like marketable plushies, but mostly simplicity in color and line art because you're going to be seeing this uh, as very small object. And with a lot of VTubers, they tend to have very, very, very specific and detailed designs, which make it harder to make emotes. So that's why you tend to see a lot of chibi emotes because they simplify things. Neo specifically, your emotes are very, very successful and work really well because you have high contrast, but you have simple flat colors already in your design and that simplicity is very strong as a small format. That's why you see logos and things that are meant to be printed at different sizes with very few colors, very few gradients, very few tiny pieces. Um, and if you ever see a logo and get the sense that it feels a little bit more, I'll say amateur, more as like a little inexperienced rather than not good, but you can usually tell when somebody has used something like Canva and doesn't have a lot of experience with designing logos that they tend to over embellish the logo, put a lot of fine details, a lot of small pieces that just can't translate as a small object. Whereas a lot of brand logos, like, I mean, if you're familiar with Walmart, they just did a rebrand and it's not any different, but it's like very different at the same time. Their logo is simply just a radial spiral of yellow. You know what I mean? And they're a multi-billion dollar company. Like it really can be simple. And I think one of the things that makes us afraid of going simple is because um at least for a Western standpoint, uh, having complexity often subconsciously becomes our interpretation of it being worth more. So something more complicated looks like it took more time, looks like it took more skill to make. Very fine details translate to time and patience. And to us, it tends to mean, oh, well, this is more complicated, which means it's better, which is not actually true. It's why people are very frustrated with abstract art sometimes, where they're like, I could have made that. Well, you didn't. And there's a lot more to this than what your perception is giving you. So simplicity can often be way more professional and way more skillfully done than something that has over complexity. But when you have a character that is very complex, how do you get them into this small emote format? Um, Again, keeping it round, keeping it simple, and one of the things that I'm really missing in this emote is a body of some sort. I don't have the context for this streamer. I don't know who it's for, so I don't know their design, but I'm gonna do a couple things to help ground us. We're gonna pretend that this is our square canvas for the limitations of our emote, and we're gonna go from there. So one of the things I'm really missing is some sort of body. I Again, like I said, don't know this character, don't know this person, so I'm just gonna do the best I can to do some sort of implication of a body, uh, and some sort of shoulders. I come from graphic design background, that's why my work is very flat and shape focused. Yeah, absolutely. And I like I said, I think every people are very afraid of the less is more. Um, and really, it just comes with experience. When you're experienced and you can really boil it down into something that is simple but very effective, then that's how you know that you really have a lot of experience. It just comes with some time and working with something and knowing the limitations of your tools, knowing the limitations of your own ability and what works in the market, what works in practice, like literally just it just takes time, unfortunately. Okay, graphic design is my passion. Yeah. I do not claim to be a graphic designer at all. So one of the things that I'm doing is I'm just very, very basically blocking in uh the shoulder area because what I would like to have is some more of this character interacting with the Bible rather than this Bible being attached to the side of a head. We're missing a lot of silhouette, but this character's expression is very nice, and we have this high contrast, like a lighter skin, darker features, and darker hair. And so that can be super successful for our emote in a smaller format, but we can kind of clean it up and make it a little bit more interesting. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to try to chibify this character just a bit more to make the shapes easier to see, easier to understand. One of the first things we can do is we can get rid of this jawline here. And again, my emotes aren't perfect by any means. I also have a pretty complicated design, unfortunately. And so I ended up, after my 1 year anniversary, I ended up remaking every single one of my emotes. You know, every one of the emotes that had me on it. And it took, that whole year of streaming to really see like what kinds of emotes worked well, what kinds of things I could reduce, what things I could make better. And know that no matter how skilled you are, there's always room for improvement. Do I have a before and after? Let me see. That'd be a good example. So already here we have a little bit more of a round shape that'll be a little bit easier to read, and we have some sort of shoulders here. This is gonna be fixed, don't worry. It looks like shit right now, but I'll fix it. But let me see real quick if I have a before and after. Thanks for co-working. Hiya. I believe I might have some of them. Let me grab art. Where did that window pop up? Hello? There it is. Okay. Let me go to emotes and redeems. Wow! Such a cozy stream I have on in the back, taking lessons. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And thanks for being a super
Oh, these
shopper.
aren't homemade. They were
They're
made in a
made a
factory.
factory.
A
A
bomb
bomb
factory.
factory.
They're
They're
bombs.
bombs. Where are my hello? Done. Okay, it's in my done folder. All right. So let me open up a new let me open let's see. Let me find it. Open this with Photoshop. So this is a new one. This is me doodling on my little notebook. That's me. My chat guy got fat. You just got larger. You got bigger. You're just a little bit bigger. So here's one of my newer emotes. And let me see if I can't find the old version of it. Also, this is one that I made new. This emote fucking so stupid. I love this emote. This one was new, because I thought it was really funny. Let me see now if I can open up. Let's go to I have this PC. Do I have my thing plugged in? No, hold on. I gotta plug in my hard drive real quick. I have it on my hard drive. On my hard drive. Let me find the old one. Hold on. Yeah, look at that. Look at that one. All right, let's see. Make sure my hard drive pops up. So yeah, this is the first one. Or hold on, let me turn off the art critique thing. Bonk. I'm looking. I have so much stuff, y'all. So thanks for your patience. This PC, devices and drives. It's not showing up. Thanks for co-working. It needed to be plugged in a little better. I'm waiting for my hard drive to show up. I have all my. Oh, there we go. There we go. I have my older stuff on my hard drive. There we go. Go to Mandy, 2024, back up. Hold on. Emotes redeems, emotes. There we go. Oh, yeah, I got the old one. All right. Are you guys ready? Are you ready? Let me see if I can't. Hello? I'm going to open this in Photoshop right here. Bam. Whoa!
You got mail.
Whoa! Emmy Wowie, welcome, Raiders. Hi there. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Raiders. How are you? How are you? And I'm so sorry. What were you doing today? Welcome in, everybody. I'm Mandy Quinn, Mall Mannequin. I'm an illustrator, animator, and a professional goober. And today we're doing an art critique stream. But somebody asked, we're actually working on an emote, and somebody asked to see the old versus the new version of my emote. So I was just about to show that. But welcome in. What were you doing today? And I'm so happy to see you. You guys want to follow me on my socials? I hang out on Blue Sky. I do some stuff over there sometimes. But I draw stuff like this. Wowee. This is my art. And sure is just bright and colorful. But yeah, feel free to hunker down for the art critique. If you have any art that you'd like critiqued for next month, you can do exclamation point critique. Y'all have been really in the merch today. My goodness. Thanks so much. You guys are silly billies. I really appreciate that. You can also, y'all, with Fourth Wall, if you do want to purchase merch, like for real, you can gift merch to chat and it'll do a giveaway in the chat live. So that's pretty neat. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free. But welcome, Raiders. I'm so excited to see you. Emmy, I hope you had a fabulous stream. Welcome in. Let me get my canvas wider so we can see both of them together. Emeritus Miku goes crazy. Thank you. I love her. Let me turn this off. Boop. So I'm going to have the old one. So the old one I made, both of these were drawn in Procreate. These are 1 year apart from one another. Let me do a white background so it's a little less crazy. Boink. And because it might not be new, oops, new, old. So here you can see that no matter your experience, no matter how many years you've been drawing or whatever, really just paying attention to emotes that you really gravitate to. So, like, see which emotes you like to click on. Which ones do you use? Which ones are easiest for you to see? What do you like about emotes? Because this isn't bad. On the right, this one's not bad. I mean, it's my own art, but it's not bad. But it's definitely got way too much going on. Hello? Why are you knocking? What are you knocking for? What are you knocking for? Get out of here. But as you can see, there's definitely way more going on. It's got a lot of gradient happening, which ends up making it look more muddy as a really small item. There's a lot of color right next to each other. It's really, really just a lot more going on, and it's heavier to look at. It's harder to tell the difference between when something starts and stops unless the color has enough contrast with the things around it. So you can see over here that I kept my blue very light because the blue has less contrast with the black line art. So it makes it a lot harder for you to get the distinct edges of. You can see here that my hair in the back kind of blended in. Um, the eyes I made big and round. Again, more contrast between the white of the eye and my eyes themselves. Um, and I really just wanted to focus on making things readable. So instead of having a black line for my shoulder here, you can see that it's a blue. So I'm really just keeping the black lines to the outermost edge. And if I zoom out here, the one on the left becomes a lot more visible and distinct than this one on the right. So paying attention to things and knowing that you can remake things, you can rework things, just give yourself the grace of knowing that you just gotta learn over time. No matter how skilled you are, how long you've been drawing, some stuff you just gotta learn over time. And it's okay because it's not wrong. You learned by making this first thing. You know what I mean? You learned from the experience of making these new things because you obviously did the research to make the thing the first time. And now you can make it better the second time, knowing all the things you know now. So yeah, so these, this is just one of the examples of, I think I did 14 emotes for this update. And then I made some new ones. And you can see too now that, now that we're a little bit further along, I've got emotes from some other people, and that's really exciting. Just really good time, really fun to learn. And yeah, so now we're gonna be going back to actually, I'll keep this open as an example, but we'll go back to the one that we've been making art critique for. So now you can see here, by simplifying some of our shapes, we are going to be giving ourselves all the more opportunity to make something really, really cool, really, really good. Let me make a duplicate of their art and let me grab the whole thing and just make the whole thing bigger. In fact, hold on. Let me take what I had here. I'm gonna restart. I'm gonna make the whole thing larger. First things first, we want to get this as cropped as possible without compromising the details of this character. So there's horns that we need to account for, there's the head, and there's some hair. But we don't want to limit our emote just to this square boundary. A lot of things will break two or even three of the borders here. So keep in mind that you don't have to have a solid item right in the center, because sometimes that would make it look unfinished, or it might be too small, so it's harder to read that way. But things like simple items, like a pretzel that is just an item, you know what I mean? You could just have that in the middle. Take advantage of the silhouette against the transparency. Thanks for tossing the little guy at me. I got that Pokemon music. So now I'll focus again on re-rounding this character's face, as round as possible, to just make even more surface area. And again, that's why, if you're ever curious as to why you see a lot of chibi emotes, it's just that the detail is easier to read. And if a character isn't chibified, it's most likely because their design is simple enough that you can still read what's happening. Again, I'll go here. I had this little jawline, got rid of it. Made it nice and round. Roundness. Round, round, round. But we still want to maintain this character's expression as well. That's the whole point of this emote, is to tap into what the user is feeling so that they want to use this emote. No jawline can relate. So true. One of the things I'm also going to do is I'm going to bring out this hair to make it look a little bit voluptuous, and to give us more of a solid corner here. So it's no longer floating, it's more of just coming in from the side. Before, after. So now our character's coming over from the side, they have a little bit more presence, and we have a very interesting design opportunity. This character has hair that breaks this shape here. We can see here our mouth is getting very close to this hair here. So I'm going to focus on the face first, and then I'll bring the hair in to not conflict with our facial features. So let me, again, I'm not trying to get rid of this person's style. I'm also not trying to get rid of the design elements of the character. I'm just going to try to round things out. This wider eye will now make the character look more scared, but we can still simplify the shape a little bit more. Again, look at examples of emotes from others, people that particularly have very good emotes and very good sales. So sometimes you can go on Etsy, see that people have been selling their emotes. Take a look at which ones sell more. You can usually see how many sales something has had, um, and that can give you a good idea as to what is popular. And the popularity is coming from people wanting to use those emotes. They've caught their eye. I'm gonna get rid of some of the fine details, like those extra lines, and you can already see here that we've gone from before, after. We're already making it easier to see what's going on. So let me just continue with that. Again, I'm really trying not to remove the actual core of this character. Whoa!
You got mail.
Hi there, champion. Hello, welcome, raiders. My goodness, welcome, raiders. Hi there. I'm Mandy Quin, Wall Mannequin. It's a champion raid. The cosmic roomies are moving in. Oh, welcome in. Oh my gosh. Lucky for you guys. we have a mall, so there's, like, space for everybody in here. How are you? Welcome in. Hi. Oh, look at how cute your emotes are. We're talking about emotes. We're doing an art critique today, and we are currently talking about, an emote design here. This was submitted by Squid Fanatic, and I was using some of my emote progress as an example. But welcome everybody. Hi there, Soups. Hi, welcome everyone. What were you doing today? I hope you had a fabulous stream. If you guys don't already know me, like I said, I'm Mandy Quinn, mall mannequin, and illustrator, animator, and professional goober. You can find me on Blue Sky. Emotes are by fellow capsule cutie Fatal Star. Hell yeah, Fatal Star is actually, I believe, who's going to be raiding into me in the raid train. So that's very exciting. Look at how cute those are. Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. But welcome in. I hope you had a absolutely wonderful stream. Uh, I draw stuff like boop, 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 boop. Where is it? Like this. I get to raid into them. Oh, hell yeah. Raid train, raid train, raid train. Hell yeah. I'm super excited to meet more folks. Weaving in ends on my heart cardigan. You're doing a heart cardigan? Is it like a heart pattern, or have you made like a really interesting shape to the oh, now if you have any pictures you'd like to share or anything you'd like to share for that matter, please feel free to send it in the chat. But that's so exciting. What the heck? I'm not quiet. Whenever somebody comes in and tells me that they were working on like fiber arts and like clothing or some sort of like stitching, it makes me so excited because I just love that kind of thing. I have 69 heart squares that I sewed into a cardigan. Oh, hell yeah. That's so cool. What the fuck? That's awesome. Oh my god. That's really exciting. I can knit a square. Not me trying to crochet my big ass paws. Yeah, crochet and fiber arts are so fucking cool. Oh my god. Hell yeah. Oh my gosh. Absolutely take your time. If you need to go, by the way, if you need to go take care of yourself, any of y'all, any of you raiders want to take care of yourselves, please do. We're gonna be vibing. We're gonna be doing more art critiques today. We have 13. This is our third one. So feel free to get cozy and vibe. We've been going for almost 2 hours, so not too bad. I will absolutely guzzle my water though. Can't draw that good. So, hey, you know what? That's okay. I think one of the I've talked about this before, but one of the things that fiber arts and like things that are quote considered like a craft quote quote tend to be like lessened. They tend to be like reduced in how much skill it actually takes to do them. It's a lot of fine like motor skills necessary. It can be a strain on your hands and your eyes, and it's work that has made like tapestry and clothing and a lot of things that are like the foundation of just people in general. And a lot of people don't take them seriously, which is a shame because literally you've built a structure off of these things like blankets and like I don't know. And they're also if you've ever seen a quilting show, oh my god. People do crazy things with quilts where it'll be like thousands of panels of fabric overlaid on top of each other using beadwork or a string that has like made of like silver to like really bring out texture and shine. It's nuts. It's buck nutty. So I always love hearing about people doing, especially doing that on Twitch as well, because now you're opening up something that people think is like a hobby or a craft, and it's craft meaning like children crafting is how people describe it, but craft is like craftsmanship, an artisan, like you are actually making something with your hands. I'm shaking my hands in front of me. I'm very passionate about this. Yeah, you're doing great. I'm so excited to hear that you're doing it on Twitch. It's